let's see. What are these? There we go. Share screen. There we go. And let's maximize that. All right. One of the things is, right, we looked at in Shir on this, at this run, really the question on siman nun hey is actually not mainly about chuppah, but there, if you go into the Ramah, and I think it's Siv Bet, he gets into the question of what is chuppah, right, which is a kind of a outstanding question that's never really answered. And he brings up a lot of different possibilities. The Rambam already, we saw, it brings up the idea that chuppah is essentially is yichud. And by the way, it's like a side note, I don't know if any of Yavni in particular, if you had a chance to look, but it's really the Beit Yosef actually covers some of these issues, and the Darkei Moshe, not in Nun Hey, but actually in Samach Aleph. But for some reason, when it got organized into the Shulchan Aruch, into the Mapa and the Shulchan Aruch, the Rama put it in Nun Hey. So it's kind of.
I'm actually going to be teaching Samach Aleph in a couple of weeks, and I'm a little confused as to what the chidush is there, but I'll figure it out.
Oh, fair enough. That's right. Oh, you and Sarah are teaching together, right? Did I make that up?
I think, I mean, not together. Yeah, I'm doing CFL. She's doing CFBet, I guess. I don't know. I should coordinate with her.
So, but part of the thing of the run when he's dealing with this is he's dealing with allusions to a Mishnah and two sugyot. The Mishnah is in the 5th parak of Kiddushin, and the sugyot are in the 1st parak. That he used to kind of his proof. And I realized when I wasn't at Shir this week, but I was watching it, and I realized that people actually didn't know these background sources. And so I thought that this would be a good chance to learn those. So if you're not sitting in the run, which I brought at the end of this, that's okay. We'll learn the sources, and then you can go back and learn the run again, or for the first time, and understand. And that run actually is on the reef on the first sugya in Ketubot, which is one of the ones we're going to look at here. So with that, we'll go around. I know people haven't necessarily seen these texts, but we'll go through them. Yavni, you want to kick us off the Mishnah on 5.2 in Ketubot?
Sure. נותנים לבתולה 12 חודש, מי שטבעה הבעל לפרנס את עצמה, וכשם שנותנים לאישה וכשם שנותנים לאישה, כך נותנים לאיש לפרנס את עצמו, ולאלמנה 30 יום, הגיע זמן.
Stop there before we get to Higia.
So from the point after Kiddushin, from the point that the groom comes and says that he wants to go through with the nisuin, they give 12 months to each of them to get ready.
Exactly, and for an almanah,
and for a widow, 1 month, 30 days.
So this, by the way, if you see reflections of Megillat Esther in here, there are some going on. I think at least agadically, right, the idea of a woman preparing for the wedding. But some of this seems to be about finances, right? Putting your finances in order for the wedding. You have the proper nedunya on the woman's side to have for the baal to actually have the money for the ketubah, also to make the wedding and so forth. So, okay, good. Higia zman. Keep going.
הגיע הזמן ולא נשאו אוכלות משלו ואוכלות בתרומה. So if that time comes, the 12 months or the 30 days, and the wedding hasn't happened, then the bride still, even without the wedding, the bride starts, the groom is responsible for providing food for the bride, and also if she's marrying a kohen, then she can eat from truma.
Exactly. So right, exactly, he's responsible for mezonot. Even though he hasn't married her, it kicks in, right? So it's okay. Keep going.
נותנים לה הכל תרומה. רבי עקיבא אומר מחצה חולין ומחצה תרומה. So there's a difference of opinion on the details, whether she can, I don't really.
Like essentially, if he's a Kohen, he only gives her truma, and Rabbi Akiva was like, well, she's like half married, so she gets half truma and half not truma. It's kind of a way this is going here. It's irrelevant to where we're going to go with it, but just I wanted to keep the Mishnah whole. So good. Any questions, thoughts, comments on that Mishnah before we move on?
a bunch of these sources raise the question for me as to what, like when, if there's any requirement once the kiddushin has happened for when this happens. This is like once he sues for it, but yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that word tiva is actually a little bit troubling there, right? Because it sounds like they could actually wait years if he doesn't, make a request or she doesn't make a request. If the two of them are like, we did kiddushin, we're happy, and we're, we have no relationship with one another, but we're going to stay in that space. It seems to be, at least according to this Mishnah, that's not a problem. I think other sources seem to push that it actually should be like 12 months after in general. So, but yeah, but I'm not an expert in that. So take what I say with very carefully.
Is your sense that she can also sue for it, or it seems like it's something that he does in this mission?
I think she can sue for it too, right? That's why we have to give him 12, right? Right. So
it's not after it's after if she, okay.
Yeah. But exactly. So when she says, hey, time has passed, I want to go through Nisuin. And remember, this is right. We'll see this, right? This is moving her out of her father's house, essentially, right? Putting her in which also might be, I'm not sure. I didn't look at the Mefarshim on this. Why an almanah gets 30 days. Number one, because we assume that she's not a virgin. She doesn't need to make herself as pretty, all that stuff, right? It's a little bit, he's getting a different kind of product, which I hate to say it that way, but it kind of is. But also, right, an almanah is in a weird space financially, right? She's not, or a poor space financially. She can't rely on her father anymore. She's now completely out of her father's house, and so she needs to get married as soon as possible in order to be in a good financial position. And so we say essentially you get 30 days in that case. Okay, and they still have to prep the wedding too. That's also part of this, which we're going to see a little bit. But all right, we're going to skip the next Mishnah. I just brought it just for a kind of a nice addition. But the one thing I wanted to is just at the very end, you see, right? This idea out here that, the chuppah, whatever it is the thing that makes her now married to him and therefore him responsible for her mezonot. Okay, let's move on from there. We're going to look at this is really part of the first sugya in Ketubot. Aaron, do you feel like reading for us? Go for it. And the stuff I grayed out, we're not going to do. I just wanted to, you can see it in completeness there, but so go for it.
בתולה נישאת ליום הרביעי ואמונה ליום החמישי. שפעמיים בשבת בתי דין יושבים בעיירות. ביום השני וביום החמישי, שאם היה לו טענה בתולים, היה משכים לבית דין. Did it translate? Yep.
Yeah, sure. Or give us the gist. Either one. So
virgins are married on Wednesday, almanot are married on Thursday, so that because the Beit Din is there on Monday and Thursday, if there is a question about her virginity, if they can go to the Beit Din the next day.
Exactly, right. So they get up the next morning and he can go to the Beit Din. All right. I'm going to bracket the difficulties with that for the moment, and we'll go on to the Gemara. Yeah, you've got a great look on your face in response to that. All right, so Aaron, take us with Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel.
Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, mipnei ma amr betula nisei leyom revi'i, she'em haya lo tana betulim hayam mashkim lebeit din. So Rav Yehuda says that Shmuel just summarizes the Mishnah for us, or it makes clear the connection a little clearer. V'tinaseh be'achad b'Shabbat, she'em haya lo tana betulim hayam mashkim lebeit din. Why can't she then get married on Sunday so they can go to Beit Din on Monday?
Exactly.
Shaktu chachmim al takna b'no Yisrael she'torech b'suda shlosha yamim echad b'Shabbat v'sheni b'Shabbat u'shlishi b'Shabbat u'revi'i konsa. The Chachamim added to, or were careful about, in addition to the 12-month period, there's now this extra 3-day waiting period so that the groom can prepare a feast so that they get married on Wednesday.
Exactly, right. This is right, because you after Shabbat you start immediately preparing the meal for the wedding, but it takes a few days to get everything together. And unless you have my mother-in-law, who's really amazing at putting stuff together last minute, which also, everyone does this now, right? Not everyone in America at least, right? The tradition is now to get married on Sundays for a lot of Jews. And so you actually don't get this, right? You kind of come out of Shabbat and already the wedding prep starts and you have very little time. But in their worlds, you had 3 days. So okay, but now keep going.
ועכשיו ששנינו שקדו, אותה ששנינו הגיע הזמן ולא נישאו, אוכלות משלו ואוכלות בתרומה, הגיע הזמן באחד בשבת, מתוך שאינה יכול לכנוס, אינו מעלה למזונות. So now that we understand why the Chachamim are saying Wednesday instead of Sunday, we also understand this Breita that I think is in the gray. if he delays the wedding, he has to sustain her. But this if the wedding has this, and this is why the wedding can't be on. It doesn't matter if he doesn't marry her on Sunday as opposed to Wednesday.
Exactly.
We're worried about delaying past Wednesday, not past Sunday.
Exactly, right. In other words, you get these extra days, so it's 12 months plus 3 days if the 12 months shows up on a Sunday, kind of thing. You get those extra 3 days. Okay, all right. So lefichach, I think that's where you are, right?
Lefichach chalahu o shechalta hi o shepirsa nida eno malo mazonot. Therefore, in other cases in which the delay is not of his choosing, i.e., she's sick, he's sick, or she's nida, he does not have to feed her.
Exactly. Which sounds like you can't do nisuin when she's nida, right? This is chupat nida. It seems to be asur, or not asur. It's inomalet, right? It doesn't work seemingly here because that's a valid excuse for pushing off the wedding. Otherwise, we'd say, oh, you're at 12 months, you need to do it. So, and this is one of the things that a lot of the people say that chupat nida doesn't work, get it from here, and that's what the run was referencing here. So hopefully that's helpful. As we saw, of course, there's debate about that. Oh, I didn't bold this. So okay, good. Alan, you want to jump in and do some stuff too?
Sure.
Good. I want to back at the next piece. I just want to kind of warn it. It's like a pretty difficult situation. And this is when you learn Hilchot Avelut, actually, this sugya is like really important. So, we did Avelut last 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. So it's probably coming back in the cycle at some point. Okay, go for it.
Okay. Did not quite get up there in the Gemara, but happy to read it called. Okay. Good Tanya. הרי שהיה פיתה אפוי וטבחה תברך ויהנה מזוג, ומת אביו של חתן או אמא של כלה, מכניסין את המת לחדר ואת החתן ואת הכלה לחופה, אבל בעילת מצווה הוא פורש. ונוהג 7 ימי משתה, ואחר כך נוהג 7 ימי אבלות. בכל אותן הימים הוא ישן בין האנשים, והיא ישנה בין הנשים, ואין מונעין תכשיטין מן הכלה כל 30 יום. Okay, so the situation is everything is all set and ready to go for the wedding, and the father of the bride or the mother of the bride dies. They bring the dead person out of the room, and the chat and the kala under the to the chuppah. Not clear what exactly it means. And they have this symbolic sexual act, and the bilat mitzvah, what's needed for in order to consummate the marriage.
Yeah, they actually consummate. Yeah,
right. Yeah, they separate. They have the 7 days of festivities, and afterwards 7 days of avelus, and they're sleeping separately all through that time.
Exactly. So. And she, the 30 days, right, even though normally if she's a mourner, those 30 days she wouldn't be allowed to adorn herself, she is allowed in this case because she's a new kala. So,
right.
You can imagine this is like this happens, of course, right? In fact, Rav Linus has a story about this being a wedding where this actually literally happened, where I can't remember the father of the groom or the mother, right? One of them died of a heart attack like right before the chuppah. And there he actually said that I don't remember who was doing the wedding. It was some great Talmid Chacham who was doing the wedding, and he told them, there will be not be Beilat mitzvah in this case. He's like, you need to just separate. We're going to do the wedding, but you need to separate. Because he's and Rav Linus said he was pretty sure it was because he was like, I don't think either of them is in a state of mind right now where it would be like a good thing for them to sleep together. But this is a real case you can imagine happening, that everything's prepared for the wedding, right? And there's the Gemara, we're going to skip it, but the Gemara gets into why is it only the father of the groom and the mother of the bride and not vice versa. But this is the case. Okay, so that all sets us. Oh, actually, I left that in, so we're going to see that. Okay, that's all the setup. You want to do a little bit more, Al?
Sure. V'davka v'yiv shel chatan o ima shel kala deleka inish detarach lehem. There's no one that there's no one that is burdening that, troubling them. Who's doing the tarach here?
Yeah, I think it's for the wedding itself, right? It's in the way that I think, if I remember correctly, Rashi, I think, understands this, so I can look, but is that these are like the person who like did all the work for the wedding, and now you're going to tell them like go eat this meal that this person who just died did all the work for? Like, they need a little bit of we don't do it rather. So like your father did all the work for the wedding, get this food prepared, and now he's dead. Like, you should be able to still benefit from what he did, and he's the one who's going to do the work. So okay.
Okay.
So.
But the reverse, the mother of the chatan or the father of the bride, they actually don't need to go through to do the separation, right?
Actually, then they don't get married. They do.
They don't get married at all. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they get married later, but they go through avelut first before getting married. Yeah.
Wait, so meaning Davka, because it's the father of the groom and the mother of the bride who expect to be putting the work in to set up the wedding. Therefore, if one of them is the one who passes away, then we go through with the wedding because they worked so hard for it.
Exactly, and we don't want to, yeah. If I just want to double check in the Rashi, this is what Dalet Gimel with Bet or Dalet Aleph. Oh, I've got Bava Kama in front of me, not Ketubot, which is why that doesn't work. But
Right.
I will, and if anybody else has Ketubot,
I have the Rashi. What's the Aviv Shel Chatano and Mashal Kala?
It's the Leka Inish to Tarach. It's Im Yafsidu Ma Shehechinu.
yeah. So nobody else will do that work, right? They're going to lose it, right? Essentially. Yeah. So I probably didn't explain that well, but yeah, you're gonna right. In other words, the mother, if her mother's dead, then she's got nobody else to prepare the wedding. The mother already prepared the wedding. Let's use that instead of having to find somebody to substitute for it. So, okay.
Step in, hire a new wedding planner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also interesting, right? We get some interesting, sociology of their world, where who was planning the wedding. It turns out it was the father of the groom and the mother of the bride were the people who were doing the work. So, okay. Amar Rafram.
Okay. Amar Rafram bar Papa Mar Christa lo shanu elashan tamayim al gabe basar. Aval lo natamayim al gabe basar mizdaven. Right. Mizban. Right. So Rafram bar Papa says in the name of Christa, they only taught this. If you literally put the water on top of the meat, I assume that's like the last step in the preparatory process. But anything short of that, they sell it.
Which I don't know if that works today, right, at all. But back then you could find somebody else to buy the meal essentially, and go on your way. Okay.
Okay. Tanya Kavatit the Rav Chisda. There's a breita that goes according to Rav Chisda. Harisha ya pitava puya tifkot vuach b'yena mazug. ונתן מים על גבי בשר, ומת אביו של חתן או אמא של כלה, מכניסים את המת לחדר ואת החתן ואת הכלה לחופה. אבל בעילת מצווה פורש ונוהג 7 ימי המשתה, ואחר כך נוהג 7 ימי אבלות. וכל אותן הימים הוא ישן בין האנשים ואשתו ישנה בין הנשים. וכן מי שיפירסה אשתו נידה, that's new, הוא ישן בין האנשים והוא ישנה בין הנשים.
Good. I'm glad you flagged that. That's the new piece of information we have, right, from this breita, is that if his wife, right, seemingly one he just married, we're probably out of the world of avelut all of a sudden, right, she becomes nida, right, same thing, the two of them now have to, even though they just got married, they sleep separately. And this also seems to be a case, right, where people manage to be able to be married without consummating the marriage. We'll see that. Maybe I'm anticipating the Gemara a little bit too much.
Joel, we're just going to be on the move for a second because
that's okay. Yeah. Here. So I didn't realize you guys were in the same space. That's pretty funny. I'm guessing this is a room in Hebrew college that they're getting kicked out of.
That is correct.
I know that I used to do Rough Lightish this year in a room, and every once in a while get kicked out of there. So I get that.
Yeah, the difference is COVID protocols these days. Make it tricky. Okay.
Who's teaching in the room? Oh,
no one's here yet.
Okay.
Wandering Jews headed from state to state.
This is fun. Yeah. Have you ever been to Hebrew college?
I have, yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you wanted to.
I went to the Posdo as young person.
You went to the pros door? Oh,
Yeah.
so did very different person, Lahavdil Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, and we found his grades.
We did not overlap. What?
No,
What
no.
about grades?
Yeah. Dan Jensen, who's the dean of the rabbinical school, he had a bunch of us. He pulled a bunch of us into a room one day. He's like, he was going through old grade books from Prosdor, and he found Reuven Kraft's grades from Prosdor. So he didn't do very well. But,
Are there laws about disclosing things like that?
what was that?
Aren't there laws about disclosing things like that?
Probably, and it's now recorded on here,
If
so
this space is
whatever.
going to be used.
Perfect. No, it's
I don't think he cares anymore. That's
Okay.
all right.
it was in the old youth college building, in fact. And
It was it? Okay. Oh, that's right, because they built the
both.
yeah. So okay, so we have this case, right? So now a man whose wife goes into nida, and we'll see what the case is, right? They have to sleep separately. He has to sleep among the men, and she has to sleep among the women, and I think it's most people would know that we're clearly not taking on a case with people who've been married for years and years here, right? This is some other case. So
Joe, does that mean that according to this part of the Bavli, that even if she's in nida, the marriage would take effect, or is
that's what it sounds like? Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things here is it sounds like you can get married, or the Ran, of course, is going to say, like a possibility is that there's some time between the marriage and her becoming nida. So maybe there's like some time between the marriage and the sex that happens or something like that. But yeah, I think Aaron, you're exactly right. This is the opposite push from what we saw at the beginning of Ketubot. This is also the beginning of Ketubot, of the idea of that whether or not a chupat nida works or not. So, okay, Alan, you're doing so well. You want to keep going?
Sure. Okay, so looking more closely at the Breita, Messiah Leila Rabbi Yochanan, it's supporting Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan, Afapi Shamru Ein Avelut B'Moed, Valdvarim Shot Sina Nohek. Right. Even though we say there's no Avelut on Moed, that you can do things privately in the confines of your house.
Yeah, so just I want to this might be obvious to people. The idea here, if you remember, going back to not to the nida case, but to these people essentially, like one of them should be an avilut. Their parent just died. They get married, they have sex, and then the burial's got to happen right after that. They bury the body. They're now a full avel. They're no and yet nonetheless they're going to Sheva Brachot, right? And so there's and Sheva Brachot is like a moed essentially, where we have all these comparisons in the Gemara to that, and nonetheless they say even though publicly you're acting as if you just got married, privately you're acting as if you're not velut, and therefore you have to sleep separately, is the idea here. And that follows Rabbi Yochanan's claim that, which we see this, right? If you have, a relative, this plays out on Shabbat, it's a little bit more difficult with Hagim, it doesn't quite work this way. But, in Shabbat, for instance, if I'm in Avelut, I still go to shul, I have my Sudot of Shabbat, but privately when I'm home, I still act like an Avel, actually. And that's Rabbi Yochanan's opinion. Okay, but keep going.
Okay, Darash Rav Yosef, Bari Deravi, Mahmid Derava, Loshna, Elashula Baal, Ava Baal, Ishto Yashnaima. Okay, this was only taught if Loshanu, sorry, if he didn't have sex with her, but if he did, then his wife sleeps with him.
Great.
The hacha de babalaskinan. Uktane hu yasham ben hanashim v'hi yashna ben hanashim. But here we're really dealing with someone who had sex. It's taught he sleeps among the men and she sleeps among the women.
Yeah, just right to remind us, in the original Breita, right? The father dies, or let's say the father dies. They put him into a different room. The two of them go to the chuppah, right? And then they have sex, right? And then separate from each other. So you can't tell me that this is only a case where they've never had sex before, because the initial Breita we're talking about was a case where they had sex and yet they still have to sleep separately, right? I think the idea behind it is, right, once they have sex, they're used to each other and they can control themselves, but if they haven't had sex yet, they can't control themselves. So we need to keep them separate, right? And okay, this is where the whole idea comes from. One of the places where the whole idea comes from, that, right, when a woman's in nida, for instance, or an avelut, and she and her husband are married, that they don't have to, they can have yichud together, even though she's asura to him. So, okay.
Okay, kikama pirsei. Now, what it's really talking about is the case in which the wife is nida at the time of chuppah. But that was also told in the Breita.
I think actually here the word v'chein ketani, when it says v'chein, that Rashi explains that should include like all the cases there. Like it's the case of nida is just like the other case where they've already had sex, and so that sounds like they sleep separately even when they've had sex.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It is a hard Chaklavataria, so.
Didn't apply. Hachikamar. V'chein misha pirsa ishta nida v'lo ba'al hu yashan ben hanashim v'ishto yashna ben hanashim. Okay, here's what it really seems to be saying. Someone whose wife is Anita, they didn't get to have a chance to have sex yet. That's when he sleeps with the man and she sleeps with the woman.
Exactly. And here, just, as Aaron pointed out to us, it seems to be a case where a person can be married to a woman, they haven't slept together yet, and yet nonetheless, she's nida. Now, it could be it happened between the time somehow, or it could be that it just works. You can marry a nida. It's not a problem. Or maybe even it's not a problem. Maybe b'diavad at least it works, right? Maybe it's a problem. So, okay. I have some confused looks, I think, but I'm not sure. No confusion.
Yeah, could you go over just that last line, the logic there? Or
so they're rewriting that when it says v'chein misha persaish nida, right? They're adding in veloval, right? That's the only case that in the case of the people, the mourning case, the case where a parent died right before the wedding, there they separate, but it's for different reasons. We're going to see this is because of avelut reasons. Essentially, they've done the act once, and we don't trust them to not do it again. Essentially, so we separate them. But in just a case where someone marries somebody who is nida and they haven't had sex yet, it's only if they haven't had sex yet at all that we separate them. But once they've had sex once and she's persa nida, then we don't separate them and make them sleep separately. So, does that make sense?
I think so.
I probably didn't explain it that well then. I mean, the last piece is a technical thing about the word v'chein, so I wouldn't worry too much about it at the moment. But the upshot of it is, it's in the case of a new bride with no sex having happened who is nida, that she and her husband cannot be together alone. Essentially, this was Rav Nachum's, right? You guys were in Shir, two of you, but Rav Nachum actually told the case where there was a case where he was attending a wedding of a friend, and she was persa nida, and so they wanted to look like a normal wedding. So this is very typical. They had yichud, but they couldn't actually have yichud because she was nida and they hadn't had sex yet. So Rav Nachum got to be the third person in the room with them after the chuppah, so that they, to keep them under control, shall we say? I think did he say something like it was a little awkward? It was.
He did say that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can imagine, but it's a real thing. So, I don't know how many of you were married or not, but this actually got asked of Rav Landis during Shir, and this is, I know this from my own experiences with people. It's very typical throughout the Jewish world, particularly in the more Haredi world, that women go on birth control before weddings so that she will not have a chupat nida, and so they can control this kind of stuff in the modern world. But I don't know how long that's been happening, but that is a typical thing. So, okay. All that. I just want to see how we're doing on time. We've got 10 minutes. Yeah, let's jump back into and review the Ran, if that's okay with people. So Yavni, you read the Ran in Shir, so you get to read it all over again, at least some of it.
Yeah, you want me to read it again?
Yeah, I thought you want me to do it?
I can do it. I don't mind.
Go for it. That's Yavni, I've been very mean to you guys. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So
thank you.
Maybe not that much.
No, that's great. Okay.
There. Oh, that was good?
No, it's fine. Either way.
Okay, go for it.
או שפרסה נידה. כדאלף לה מהכה דחופה היינו ייחוד, ולפיכך כשפרסה נידה ולא בעל אסורה אסורה להתייחד, כדאמרינן לקמן, דהוא ישן בין האנשים, ואשתו ישנה בין הנשים, ולאו בת חופה היא. ומשום הכי אינו מעלה לה מזונות, דאם איתה דחופה לאו היינו ייחוד, למה אינו מעלה לה מזונות, והאחזה לנישואין.
Good. Explain up to there. Just
Okay, so the idea that in the case of her being a nida, he doesn't have to. This is referring to the case where the statement that he doesn't have to provide for her food if she's a nida, then this must go with the idea that chuppah is yichud, because the reasoning is that if chuppah is yichud and we say that a nida can't go into yichud for the first time, as we said about where they each sleep, therefore she can't go into the chuppah, and therefore it's not his fault that it's being delayed. Whereas if we said that chuppah isn't yichud, it's a separate thing, then we would say it's still him choosing to delay it, because she's perfectly, it's a perfectly suitable situation to do the nisuin.
exactly. Like, for instance, right, one of the other alternatives we have for what chuppah is the community walks her from her father's house to his house, right? Like, let's say that for the moment. Well, that's no problem for them to do that if she's nida. What's the big deal, right? She can go into his house. They don't, and then they separate. They don't need to do yichud, right? But they're married. But good. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. ולפי זה אין מכניסין את הכלה לחופה עד שתטהר. And right, and because of this reasoning, we don't do the chuppah until she's in a state of purity. והרב בא לאיתור הוסיף ואמר, do you want to do this parenthetical?
Yeah, I think I want to skip it, but I'm trying to remember how far down I have to go to get out of it. This is it's pretty far.
Yeah, it is.
It's a
וכן בדין.
Where is it?
Up, like 2 lines down from where it says Daf Zayin Amud Aleph, maybe? Wait,
Yeah,
right?
here you go. Yeah, so this is the whole the
Oh, no, sorry, that's still.
no, it's further up. Beitin Yeshle. But just to give people, while I'm looking through this, is the Bali Torah brings up this whole thing that you can't do chuppah without having written the ketubah first. So
Here, okay, yeah.
How about right here? אבל פרסה נידה?
אבל פרסה נידה, כיוון שאסורה להתייחד, היא חופה, היינו ייחוד, לאו בת חופה היא. ומיהו, so that's the same argument we just made. ומיהו בדיעבד מהנה, דכיוון דעסיקנה בפרק הבא על יבמתו, דיש חופה לפסולות, כגון אלמנה לכהן גדול וחברותיה, אף על גב דלא חזיין לעולם, אף אגב דלא חזיין לעולם לביאה ולייחוד, הנמי לא גרע מנייהו, אבל לכתחילה אין מכניסין אותה לחופה עד שתטהר. היא חופה, היינו ייחוד, כמו שכתוב במקצת מקומות.
Good, explain.
So if we go according to this reasoning that the chuppah is in fact yichud, then we say that lechatchila you don't do it, but we have another reason to say that b'diavad it must work, because in another place in the Gemara it says that that chuppah does work for people for psulot, for people for whom the relations are forbidden, for example, a kohen gadol and an almana.
Yeah, exactly. These will all be the kohanim. It makes you pasul lichuna, right? It makes you invalid for the chuna, but not things that are like, right, you can't marry your sister, right? That chuppah doesn't work for. That's a whole other set of things. But so Okay, but it does work a Kohen to a divorcee or Kohen Gadol to a widow. Okay, okay, good. And so therefore he says that's proof that b'diavad, and this is no worse, right? What doing chupat nida, right, is no worse than chupat Kohen Gadol almana. If that works, then this must work as well. So, okay, especially right considering nida is a fleeting thing, and her almana status never goes away, right? Kind of one of the ideas here. So, okay. Look at me now. Aval lechatchila.
אבל לכתחילה אין מכניסין אותה לחופה עד שתטהר
You read that,
חופה
sorry.
היינו ייחוד, כמו שכתוב במקצת מקומות.
Yeah. ואחרים אומרים.
ואחרים אומרים, דחופה לאו היינו ייחוד, but others say that חופה is not ייחוד, וראיה לדבר מדאמרינן לקמן, דאלמנה, and we have reason to believe this based on the following Gemara, דאלמנה מן הנישואין, אין לה אלא מנה, אף על פי שעדים מעידים עליה שלא נסתרה ולא נבלה.
Good. Give us the case here.
So the Gemara says that a widow from the nisuin, you're considered a widow from being married, not just from being betrothed, even if you have witnesses to say that you were never in yichud together and you never had sex.
Exactly.
Alma chuppah lav ein yichud. Therefore, chuppah can't be yichud because we have to have this state of being married but not having been in yichud. Ela chuppah haynu kol שהביאה הבעל מבית אביה לביתו, לשם נישואין. Rather, chuppah is the act of the husband bringing the bride from her father's house to his house for the sake of marriage.
Yeah, not just like, hey, I want to show you this new house I bought, right? It has to be so. Okay.
ואם בית אישה נדרה, ומשמע כל הזמן שהיא בבית אישה, הרי היא ברשותו. And we learn this from the statement in Tvarim, was it?
It's Bamidbar, I think, right?
Bamidbar, about oaths that like she's under his control in terms of like his canceling her oaths all the time that she's in his house. And from this, we learn that the essence of being married is being in the house of.
So great, but it's pretty nice proof. Yeah. So how are we doing on time? Oh yeah, we can finish this up. We got it. Go for it. So.
למה אינו מעלה למזונות? הרי בידו להכניסה לחופה. היינו תמה שכיוון שאין חופה זו מסורה לביאה, לא חייבוהו חכמים לכנסה. So then you can ask the original reason why we thought that Nida is not that she why doesn't he have to provide her food from the deadline for getting married if she is in Nida in that moment until she gets out of Nida? The answer is because even though you could have a chuppah, it's not a chuppah that is suitable for bi'ah, and for that reason, the chachamim didn't require that it happen at that date because the whole deadline is from chachamim anyway.
Yeah, Aaron, is that a hand I saw? Yeah, go for it.
So that would mean for the round that right chuppah. Oh, never mind. Right, still chuppah b'diavad with nida does work.
It does.
It's just that right.
Yeah,
as opposed to it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Right. He already said that, yeah.
Yeah, you know exactly. I think that's and we didn't. Well, the Chachamim were like, if you can't have a complete marriage going into it, like there's certain things that are left, aspects that are out to you, sex being one of them, then we don't force you to get married yet until that state is gone, and therefore nida, we're not forcing you to get married to a woman who's nida, but you can do it, right? Essentially, so.
But okay. I don't know that it's clear what the Ran's opinion is. The Ran has brought two possible assumptions. One is that chuppah is yichud, and one is that chuppah is not yichud.
So you'll see he's gonna at the end kind of give what he give away what they do, at least in his world. So maybe that's his opinion, but not so clear if he has an opinion here. I think he's just kind of playing out the sides to this. So, so here, I'll finish it. I haven't read yet.
Okay.
So here we go. So l'fisha anu noagim machshav lasot chuppah belo yichud. Right. Nowadays, in the Ran's world, we do chuppah without yichud. Right. Whatever that means. Ein anu makbidim im hinida im lav. Right. So we actually, his word is like, once you say that yichud isn't chuppah, then even lechatchila you can potentially do chuppah nida, and that's what we do. Right, we don't check the status, or even you can even say maybe it's b'diavad, but we don't, we don't push, we don't investigate the matter one way or another, So, umikol makom kasher davar shelo tikanes l'chuppah ad titaher, titahar rather, right? So nonetheless, it's it's a proper thing to do if to not do the chuppah until she's done tevila from nida. V'chein nami mashma sheminhagam haya. Lichtov k'tuba kodem knisa l'chuppah kevan shelo actually, I'm going to skip this part because that's a whole nother thing that we didn't get into. So there, yeah, as you see, it's not clear with the Ran's opinions, but it seems to be that he thinks that chuppah isn't yichud. You can do chuppah nidah, but a person who is true, fear of Hashem, maybe I'm adding words to him that he doesn't say, won't do it. They'll wait. So, but yeah, Aaron, go for it.
Oh, it seems like once you said that the reason you don't do, you're not chayav mezonot if there's a nida is not really because of b'diavad l'chatchila issue. It's really just the chachamim are not forcing you. He can't say that you shouldn't do this l'chatchila, so he just says it's not kosher. But it doesn't mean it's b'diavad for him, and he seems stuck there because he doesn't want people to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's in this weird. It's like a third category. It's like it's not only b'diavad, but it's also it's okay if you don't want to do it, shall we say? And which, by the way, there's nothing lost, right? You push off the wedding for a few days, potentially, and or maybe there's a loss of the wedding was prepared. That's a whole other story. But which might I think it's like I haven't seen anyone say this directly, but that also could be a thing that's going on here. Is the sense of she can be nidat anytime, right? If she doesn't have a veset, then she's nidat like the day of the wedding, and all again the same situation of like like a parent died, where lehavdil, but the food's prepared. What, we're going to sell it all and prepare it again. That's kind of a burden. And this happens in reality a lot, right? Where the day of the wedding, they realize she's nida, and but they paid however many thousands of dollars for the wedding hall and the caterer, and so you can't cancel the wedding at this point. So, but okay, good. That's it. Hope everyone unless there's any final questions. Hope everyone has a good Shabbos. And Aaron and Alan, we're looking forward to seeing you on Monday. They gave you all the information for Shir? Okay, good. So.
There's if you send me a message, either the places I can add you to, there's a Signal chat for most of the people in the class. Not everyone is on it, but